Resident Evil 4, specifically the remake, is a very interesting game in regards to when I played it and what I was going through. As I first journeyed through Val de Lobos, I was also in the middle of a traumatic situation in my life, which I did not realise I was in, the details of which I would rather keep private. This video is not about me delving into the trauma related to that. I am not ready to talk about that at any length in any public space. But I think it would be wrong for me not to acknowledge that fact, and how Resident Evil 4 was one way I coped with that trauma subconsciously. In many ways, I think part of why I find myself thinking about this game's story so much, even after basically doing everything, is because of how much the characters resonated. Whether it be Leon still dealing with the trauma from surviving Raccoon City, or Luis trying to do the right thing after being involved in not just the cult Los Iluminados, but his work with Umbrella, which birthed the tyrant Nemesis, faced by Jill Valentine on multiple occasions in her escape from Raccoon City. Or Ada, realising she can bring some good into the world, instead of helping people like Wesker. This video is going to be focused more on my own personal thoughts on the characters in Resident Evil 4, as someone who was going through a lot at the time the game released. Hopefully this video is releasing in time for the release of Resident Evil Requiem. Yeah, sadly that was a deadline I did not meet. Requiem is really good though. Got some minor critiques of the story, but the gameplay and level design is really solid. Would recommend. As a heads up, I am discussing spoilers for Resident Evil 4 2023 and the DLC Separate Ways.
In that case, we know what we have to do. Then come, Sancho Panza! Let us rescue the Princess Dulcinea!
You gotta hurt yourself.
Hey, that was my lance. Okay, hurry, I get it.
As the main man of Resident Evil 4, it's only fair to start off with Leon S. Kennedy.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
We find Leon S. Kennedy, unrelated to JFK, 6 years after the events of Raccoon City, tasked by US President Graham, for some reason he doesn't pronounce it Graham anyway, to retrieve his daughter, Ashley Graham, after she was kidnapped by the cult Los Iluminados. Given the small escort, and that Leon is the only one on the ground for the US government, it's safe to assume that this operation is meant to be covert, most likely to project an image of the president being untouchable to those not aligned with them. Outside of a single helicopter once Leon reaches the island off the coast of Val de Lobos, and radio support from Hunnigan, he had no backup.
Bruce, this is Condor 1.
Hunnigan here, what's your sit rep?
The president's daughter, Baby Eagle. It's likely she's in this village.
Our intel was correct then. Well done.
I may not be an expert on covert operations, but if I had a lead on where the president's daughter was being held, I would want a bit more than an ex-cop who survived a zombie outbreak back in the 90s going in.
I'll let myself out.
But I think this reinforces the idea that they wanted this to be a covert mission. If something did go wrong, I wouldn't be surprised if Leon would have been disavowed or even completely erased from government records. From the moment the game begins, we see Leon has the weight of everyone lost in Raccoon City on his shoulders. Unlike Jill, one of the few other RCPOs to have survived, Leon was a rookie, who had one hell of a first day.
Don't shoot!
Get down!
He was there as Marvin succumbed to the T-virus, potentially even being the one to put him down, still carrying the knife his would-have-been superior handed to him when they first met. He witnessed Kendo mercy kill his own daughter, a moment which was truly the start of his crusade against bioweapons, when he swore he would
I want to find out what's happening here. and stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
Leon witnessed unspeakable horrors and managed to survive, even if he was double-crossed by Ada Wong and unable to save her from falling when Annette Birkin shot her.
Take care of yourself, Leon.
No!
And depending on who you ask, either him or Claire Redfield was the one to finally put down Birkin once he transformed into a hulking monstrosity to rival Nemesis's final form.
Like that? My fucker!
Give me your hand!
So for him to find another bioterror threat, one which was much more dangerous due to the parasitic and hive mind-like nature of the Plaga, it must have taken him right back to the ominous corridors of the RCPD. No doubt his experience in Raccoon City was what caused him to push onward, even when he had no certainty Ashley was alive, even when he was locked in a cage or thrown down a pit by Salazar. Even when confronted with Jack Krauser, a man far more trapped in his past failings and his part to play in the schemes of Los Iluminados. Even when Las Plagas had almost succeeded in overtaking himself and Ashley, he still pushed onwards.
This time, it has to be different.
Which honestly is a trait dating back to Leon's time in Raccoon City. Despite all the death and destruction, despite having the chance to try and run as soon as Ada saved him from the tyrant in the car park, he chose to do what he felt was right and assist in finding the cause of the problem and hopefully stop it. Being forced to work directly for the US president likely led to him seeing and doing a lot of things he isn't proud of. He was forced to bury the good person in him to do his job. But I don't think he realizes that person is closer to the surface than he realizes. Even telling Ashley to,
It's okay to be afraid, you know. But you can't run. You gotta keep moving forward. We will beat this. Together.
I don't know if I can.
You can. Just give me a heads up before you stab me next time, okay?
Leon, thanks.
he is by no means a good person at this point, and his experiences have changed him, but he is still someone who wants to do good. Though, if you ask me, I don't think being a cop in the US, or an agent who directly answers to the president is the best way of doing so. Like, I get he didn't have a choice and all. What if the president turns out to be a warmongering idiot? Wait. Honestly, I think the events of Resident Evil 4 allowed Leon to at least get on the path of becoming a more hopeful person again, given his demeanour is more light-hearted than what it was in his car ride at the start of the game. I guess getting to save at least one person really does help with healing.
Mission accomplished, right?
Mission accomplished. When you're home safe.
Thank you for saving me.
Don't mention it.
You know, I could put in a word with my dad. Have you assigned to my detail, if you're interested.
You don't need me. You proved you could handle yourself. Even if you could use a lesson in knife safety. Come on. Let's go home.
Condor 1? Roost to Condor 1, do you read me? Come in. I said come in. Is this thing even on? Leon. Leon, are you and Ashley all right? Where are you? Come on!
Parece que me toca bailar, hermano.
Luis Sierra Navarro is a really interesting one, not just because of how much of a rewrite his character got in the remake, but because of the ties he now has to the wider Resident Evil world because of that. As previously mentioned, Luis was employed by Umbrella, specifically their European branch and the team that created the NE Alpha type, resulting in the Nemesis T type. An unholy abomination made from a tyrant T-103, which was dropped into Raccoon City to hunt down any members of STARS still in the city.
I don't have time to explain. You gotta get out of there right now!
Alright, let me grab mine.
Be glad the Master of Unlocking, Jill Valentine, was able to put this monster down.
Come on! Next time, take a fucking hit!
Good riddance.
His involvement in Umbrella is a big part of why Luis is where he is now. After returning home to Vadelobos, disillusioned with Umbrella due to them making bioweapons, he ended up involved with Los Iluminados, using stolen equipment from Umbrella's European labs to research Las Plagas in the hopes of finding a weakness, albeit not so the parasite can be eradicated. As it turned out, the head of Los Iluminados, Osmond Sadler, had plans of using the parasite to take over the world, starting with the United States of America. Honestly, these days I don't think you even need parasites to take over America. Given Luis's previous involvement in Umbrella, he was unhappy to learn of the true agenda of Sadler. He reached out to Ada and Wesker in the hopes of them getting him out in return for a sample of Las Plagas known as the Amber. Though given the plans of the latter, Luis may have his hopes a bit too high on this being the end of Las Plagas. Luis is very much a person who has always tried to do good, but ended up bringing more bad into the world, primarily due to unclear intentions from those he trusted would help him. But even with that, he still tries to see the best in every situation. There's something very relatable about someone who is trying to stay light-hearted throughout all of this suffering which he has played a part in. Often Luis references Don Quixote, framing himself as the titular character, Leon as his squire, Sancho Panza, and Ashley as the Princess Dulcinea. It's clear that even in his final moments, Luis wanted to do some good, even if it meant saving one person from something he created or helped create, with him admitting that he,
You know, I led a pretty shitty life. But now, eh? What do you think, Leon? People can change, right?
Had Luis survived his fatal wound at the hands of Krauser, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up working at the BSAA or the DSO, encountering any future bioweapon threats. His work on removing Plaga from their hosts before fully formed being lost by the island blowing up was a big loss, especially since Wesker managed to recover the dead body of Krauser allowing him to continue his ambitions in Africa. And while Luis may have not lived to see it, his work on the equipment to remove Plaga from a host did ultimately save some people. Leon and Ashley. Luis did do some good in the end. It's just a shame his work from his time at Umbrella is still haunting the world years later. Ashley Graham is very much an outlier in this game full of monsters and bad people. As the daughter of President Graham, she is used to living in relative luxury, safe from a majority of the threats of bioweapons thanks to being surrounded by security details and Secret Service. So being taken so far out of her comfort zone, dragged into this remote village in the middle of Spain, it forced her to change. She starts off scared and unsure if she will make it out. An understandable reaction to being kidnapped, bound and gagged. Even as Leon arrives at the village to find her, she was in a state of distress. You can hear Ashley crying during Ada's story when she visits the church. Had Ada spoken with Luis more by this point, maybe she would have helped Ashley out before Leon managed to find her. And once Leon does find Ashley, well...
Ashley. Ashley Graham, are you in here?
Just let me go.
Listen. Easy with that.
Honestly, I get it. Everyone else so far has been hostile towards her. You know, if I had been kidnapped, I'd want to grab something and swing it at whoever enters the room. But thanks to Leon, Ashley is able to gain confidence in this hostile environment. Even as a Plaga grew inside her, she found the resolve to try and fight back every time it tried to bring her into the hive mind.
I won't run. Wait for me, Leon.
This can even be seen when Sadler attempts to use her to kill Leon with his own pistol. The first two shots fired both miss because Ashley is resisting. Had Ashley not managed to jam the Silver Ghost by how she was holding it and firing it, I wouldn't be surprised if that third shot had hit. Finally, as they made their escape, it's clear Ashley is finding the escape from the island thrilling. She has gained an enjoyment of what most would find terrifying because she had something Leon didn't have when he was surviving Raccoon City. Someone who had been through this before. Neither of them would have survived the events in Valdelobos were it not for the other.
Hey, we're a team, right?
Keep this up, I'll be out of a job.
That's no way to finish a dance. Your favorite, I believe?
Ada is an interesting one in that throughout Leon's story, we only get glimpses of what she's up to. Only learning at the very end she was tasked with retrieving a sample of amber containing what may have been a stronger variant of Plaga than what we already encountered in the game. After the credits rolled, we learn who she was working for, Albert Wesker. However, the Separate Ways DLC explores her side of the events in Valdelobos, showing that, like Leon and Ashley, she was also infected with Las Plagas, albeit from one of Salazar's personal guards during an attempt to rescue Luis from Salazar's dungeon, giving Luis the chance to escape so he can retrieve the amber. Within the early moments of Separate Ways, we learn Ada had already made peace with what her life was. One where she was always doing the dirty work. at least until Raccoon City and the loss of life there, showing hints that Ada herself was changing simply from being a femme fatale to something more. And while we don't learn much about her past, we do at least know it involved burnt bodies, suggesting any number of possible scenarios she may have been in. Was she involved in some sort of cult who crucified those who disagreed with them? Maybe she was a child soldier and grew up surrounded by the smell of burning flesh. We do not know. But what we do know for certain is that Raccoon City changed her outlook. Most likely because of Leon being too much of a Boy Scout in those days, even if it did lead to some deaths like Ben's.
Unlock this cell and I'll give you this. There's no other way out of that parking garage, believe me.
Sorry, I can't do that. I have to talk to the chief first.
Look, we're both prisoners in this station. So either we play nice and help each other out, or... Shit. It's coming.
What? What's coming?
Come on, don't be an asshole. Okay, you need this. Just get me the fuck out of here.
Oh my god.
That's right, I'm calling out Leon in the Ada section of this video. He should have helped Ben get out of that cell before Mr. X gave it to him. Because he did give it to him. Ada saw a city turned into a war zone, a sight most people would hope to never see. Meanwhile, she's been in countless. I wouldn't be surprised if Ada was hoping to save lives, even if she was going about it in her usual femme fatale way, when she was in Vade-Lobos. It's clear Wesker wasn't upfront about his schemes when he hired Ada for this assignment. Interestingly enough though, it's Luis who ultimately sways Ada to do better when it comes to the situation with Las Plagas. Ada thinks about what he said about wanting to do some good when she hooks up the laptop Wesker gave her to blow up the island.
Okay, Luis. What was it that you said again? You should have known by now, Whisker, that I don't always play by your rules.
Without Luis, Ada would have likely delivered the amber to Wesker directly. It's Luis's need to bring some good into the world which allows Ada to shift ever so slightly towards doing some good. She was rattled by what happened in Raccoon City, but kept working for people who want to bring harm to the world. But the small push she got was enough that once she learnt what Wesker's plan was, she immediately decided it was best to not let him have the amber.
So, we're talking millions of casualties.
Billions.
How ambitious. We're changing course now.
Shame about how our next person was enough for Wesker to keep going with his plans of complete, global saturation. Regardless, Ada seems to very much draw a line at mass genocide across the globe, deciding to take the amber somewhere far away from Wesker's clutches. So while she is very much willing to get her hands dirty and involve herself with less than reputable people, she does have a line.
Always have an out.
Fragile, do not resist.
Got you now, Sadler.
Gus, made it all this way. You know it means we're almost...
Almost what?
Luis!
Jack Krauser. Simply put, this man is one who is held back by his need for revenge against the US government for what happened on Operation Javier. Depending on who you ask, this was an operation involving bioweapons used by a drug lord in the Amazon rainforest, or was just simply a mission where a special forces team led by Krauser was left behind. A majority of the team sent in died in the operation. Krauser was the only one to come back. Or Leon as well, depending on who you ask. The cover-up of what truly happened left Krauser full of anger towards the US government, and with a desire to chase power. I mean, isn't most people angry with the American government? Regardless of the truth behind what happened on Operation Javier, this led to Krauser allying with Los Iluminados and to Las Plagas, chasing a power he hopes will allow him revenge he seeks against the US government. His inside knowledge is what allowed Los Iluminados to kidnap Ashley Graham, gain access to more modern weapons and fortify the island they were based on, meaning he likely has contacts with deep pockets to be able to fund such a redevelopment on the island. Plus there's the Salazar wealth from the castle too. Like, they have a full-on port, a radio tower, multiple high-tech laboratories for studying and creating new forms of Las Plagas. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if many of the Ganados encountered on the island were recruited by Krauser via mercenary groups to help Saddler's cause. Could have at least supplied them with a few more firearms though. Leon can deflect slow-moving projectiles from crossbows, but I doubt he could deflect bullets with his knife. However, Krauser's pursuit of power is ultimately his downfall. His belief that only the strong should survive, and blind faith in Las Plagas being his path to that power, meant nothing when ultimately his foe was just better at surviving. Plus, while being great for close quarters combat, I don't think large fleshy bone blade arm things are all that practical. What was his plan for eating once he got those? So ultimately, he dies an abomination who could never let go of what was eating away at his own humanity.
Prostrate yourself.
This is our holy body. Our divine providence ensued. Such profound blessing for all.
Los Plagas. Welcome, my children. I am Osman Saddler, the speaker for our Lord.
Tell someone who gives a shit.
Foolish lambs, why do you deny grace? Now, abandon your body.
Saddler has a lot less to be said about, by virtue of his character not having too much to discuss in general. This is not a bad thing, mind you. Him being a less complex character is fine. He's a cult leader actively seeking to take over the world for selfish reasons. He sees himself as being on the righteous path, and all those who oppose him requiring
absolution.
Almost everything we see within Resident Evil 4 has been touched by his influence. It is Saddler's fault Valdelobos became a stronghold for Los Iluminados. It is Saddler's fault for Luis's death. Krauser was simply carrying out his dirty work. Were it not for Saddler, Las Plagas would have remained buried, forgotten in the ground. Instead, because of his craving for power, he manipulated an already terrible person in Ramon Salazar into unearthing his family's ancient enemy, allowing Las Plagas to be unleashed on the people of Valdelobos once more. Importantly, one of the main drives for Saddler is that his family and Los Iluminados were exiled to the island, something we learn about via files we find on the island during the third act of the game. His revenge would have been more justifiable were it not for the whole worshipping of a parasite which makes you subservient to whoever has a dominant species of the Plaga. And well, he is very much the product of a bloodline which had gotten angrier with their fate as the years went by.
Use this!
Honestly, to sum up the characters which are given major focus within Resident Evil 4, a majority of them have done bad things. Leon works for the US government, Ada helps Wesker, and Luis feels the weight of his sins from both Umbrella and Los Iluminados. But the events in Vallelobos puts them in a position where they have to decide whether they want to bring a little good into the world, or continue bringing more harm into it. Whether they change from the path they've already been on, or they stay the course. Even without kidnapping Ashley, the eyes of someone with far grander ambitions had already been on the cult.
Soon, the sun will set on the age of man.
Wesker's schemes for forcing the human race to evolve and become stronger via genocide. Wesker would have sent in Ada no matter what, and without the addition of Leon being on the chessboard, Ada would have likely managed to retrieve the amber and got Luis out, and she would have most likely handed both over to Wesker. To loop back to what I alluded to at the start, during a traumatic experience I was going through, I did something bad. While I didn't do anything as bad as any of the characters in Resident Evil 4, I am still trying to be better than I was during the height of what I went through when I did something I regret and never got the chance to properly make things right. Honestly, I think Red vs. Blue Season 10's finale has a perfect quote to sum up my thoughts.
What you and I were involved with, the things we helped do. I'll be honest, I don't know if we can ever get all the way back to good. But I think that we have a chance to do better. And if we wake up every day and try to make things better, eventually we might find that better is good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Hey, so this video is a pretty unique one for me, and I hope that it was finished before Resident Evil Requiem. It wasn't. Admittedly, I only became a Resident Evil fan during the pandemic. Yes, I was playing Resident Evil 2 and 3 while we were all trapped inside thanks to COVID, and I was fully dragged in by how good the remake was of RE2. Wish I could say the same about RE Remake, but sadly that game has a few level design issues, which I really think hold it back. May make a video about that in the future because I think some people don't quite have as good of an understanding of the level design and why it's not so good, but I think the story for the most part was fine. Let me know if you want to see a video discussing level design in Resident Evil. I do think it's a genuinely interesting topic, and if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing, subscribing and hitting the bell would be greatly appreciated.